At some point, life will hit you harder than you thought you could bear. A loss you did not see coming. A betrayal, a diagnosis, a plan you built your whole life around, collapsing in a single afternoon. And in that moment, the question is not whether the storm will come, because it always does. The question is who you will be when it arrives. Nearly 2,000 years ago, the most powerful man in the world was asking himself that exact question. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome, but his reign was one long crisis. Wars on the frontier that dragged on for years. A plague that killed millions of his people. Betrayal by a trusted general. The deaths of most of his own children. By every external measure, his life was relentlessly hard. And yet, in a military tent by candlelight, he wrote private notes to himself that have survived for 18 centuries. Not complaints, not despair, but a set of rules for staying unbroken when everything around him was breaking. Those notes became the book we now call the Meditations. Today, we are going to walk through 5 of those rules. 5 Stoic tools for the moments when life gets hard. Straight from the mind of a man who lived through the worst and refused to be crushed by it. Rule 1. The obstacle is the way. This is the most famous idea Marcus ever wrote, and it turns our normal thinking completely upside down. We treat obstacles as interruptions to our life, as a thing standing between us and the life we wanted. Marcus saw it differently. In the Meditations he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Think about what that means. The very thing blocking your path is not separate from your path. It is the path. The difficult boss is your training in patience. The illness is your lesson in what truly matters. The failure is the raw material for a wisdom you could not have gained any other way. A Stoic does not waste energy wishing the obstacle were not there. He asks a sharper question. What does this obstacle make possible that nothing else could? When you stop seeing hardship as the enemy of progress and start seeing it as the vehicle of progress, everything changes. The wall in front of you is not the end of the road. It is the next part of it. Rule 2. Stop fighting reality and love your fate. So much of our suffering does not come from the hard thing itself. It comes from our furious insistence that the hard thing should not be happening. We argue with reality. This is not fair. This should not be me. And that argument, which we always lose, drains the strength we need to actually respond. Marcus trained himself to do the opposite. He wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." The Stoics called this amor fati, the love of one's fate. It does not mean you enjoy the pain. It means you stop wasting your life demanding that the past be different. Marcus reminded himself that whatever happens to you was, in a sense, always going to happen, woven into the fabric of the whole universe from the beginning of time. Fighting it is like cursing the rain. Accepting it frees your hands to build a shelter. The moment you stop screaming at reality for being what it is, you finally have the energy to change what can still be changed. Rule 3. Guard the one thing that is always yours. When life gets hard, it feels like control is ripped away from you, and a great deal of it genuinely is. But Marcus anchored himself to a single unshakable truth. No matter what the world takes, one territory remained yours. He put it simply. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Everything external can be taken. Your health, your wealth, your reputation, the people you love, all of it belongs to fortune and can be recalled at any time. But the judgments you make, the meaning you assign, the way you choose to respond, that inner citadel cannot be stormed unless you open the gates yourself. So when hardship strikes, the Stoic pulls his attention back from the 100 things he cannot control and pours all of it into the one thing he can, his own response right now, in this moment. That is not a small thing. That is the only real freedom there is, and no misfortune can reach it. Rule 4. It can only ruin you if it ruins your character. Here is a question Marcus forced himself to confront. What is actually harmed when something bad happens to you? He argued that an event, no matter how painful, cannot truly damage you unless you let it damage the one thing that makes you who you are, your character. He wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. But if you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now." A hardship can take your comfort without taking your integrity. It can take your circumstances without taking your kindness, your courage, or your honesty, unless you hand those over voluntarily. In fact, Marcus believed adversity is precisely where character is forged. The way raw iron only becomes a blade by passing through the fire. The pressure that threatens to break you is the same pressure that can make you harder, clearer, and stronger if you refuse to let it corrupt who you are. The event decides what happens to you. You decide what it makes of you. Rule 5. Feed the fire with whatever the world throws at you. There is a moment in the Meditations where Marcus reaches for one of the most powerful images in all of philosophy. He describes the ideal mind not as a fragile thing to be protected, but as a blazing fire that grows stronger the more you throw at it. A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. A small flame is smothered when you drop a log on it, but a roaring fire, it seizes the log, consumes it, and burns hotter and brighter than before. Marcus is telling you to become that kind of fire. The obstacles, the insults, the setbacks, the losses do not have to put out your light. Fed to a strong enough soul, they become fuel. This is the sum of the other 4 rules. When you treat obstacles as the way, when you accept your fate, when you guard your mind, and when you protect your character, every hard thing that lands on you stops being a threat and becomes fuel for the fire. Nothing thrown at you is wasted. It all just makes you burn brighter. So the next time life gets hard, and it will, remember what the emperor wrote by candlelight in the middle of his own storms. First, the obstacle is the way. Second, stop fighting reality and love your fate. Third, guard your mind, the one thing that is always yours. Fourth, let nothing ruin your character, because that is the only real ruin there is. And fifth, become the fire that turns everything thrown at it into more light. Marcus Aurelius was not spared a single hardship. He simply refused to let those hardships have the final word. He proved across a lifetime of war, plague, and loss that a human being can be knocked down again and again and still choose every single morning to stand back up unbroken. And if the most burdened man in the Roman Empire could do that with nothing but these ideas, then so can you, wherever this finds you, whatever storm you are standing in right now. The storm is not the end of your story. It is where you find out how strong the story was all along. If this gave you something worth holding on to, subscribe to Stoic Mind, leave a like, and tell us in the comments which of the 5 rules you needed to hear today. Until next time, stay steadfast.